Och sen kan jag be Lilja Sigurðardóttir att göra mig sällskap här. Please, Lilja, come and join us.
Okay. Thank you. Hello.
Hi, you're very welcome. It's great to see you here. And we're very happy that the volcano didn't cause trouble this time.
Yeah, not yet. I am in Sweden. I might have to stay here.
Yes.
Yes. We'll see.
Well, as you probably know, Lilja is from Iceland, but she has an upbringing that has taken her to a lot of places in the world. Mm-hmm. She has worked in education as a dramatist and scriptwriter. And in 2009, she published her first crime novel, Spår. And then you had the big breakthrough with a trilogy that in English is called Reykjavik Noir. Mm-hmm. That was published between 2015 and 2017. And the first of those books is out in Sweden too, with the title Fällan. And then in 2019, you started a new series about the financial investigator Aurora. Is that how you say it, Aurora?
Yes.
And she's an expert on finding hidden money, very useful skill. And in Iceland, I think there are already 5 books in this series.
Yes. I've just the last and 5th book is just out in Iceland. So I have finished the series, but it will come in Swedish gradually.
Yes. So the first book in the series came last year as Iskall Sol, and this year we have the second one called Blodrött hav that is published. I understand you actually lived in Sweden for a while.
Yes, I lived in Stockholm as a child for 1 year and then another half year. My father was studying history, and I think he had a research grant or something. I have lovely memories of Sweden. And jag förstår svenska jättebra, men jag pratar inte.
So have that in mind when you talk about her later on, that she can understand you. Well, Aurora, she never lived in Sweden, but like you, she has an international background when she has altered mainly between Newcastle and Reykjavik.
Yes.
And in the first book of the series, she returns to Iceland to search for her sister. Aurora is in many ways a very unusual protagonist in a crime novel, I think. Can you tell us a little bit about her? I told you that she's good at finding money, but apart from that,
I wanted to create a character that has, like myself, always, is returning to Iceland, so looks at Iceland from an outsider's point of view, because that is so interesting, because Iceland is so small, and if you go away, everything changes so quickly, and you come back and some things look strange, but other things never change. So this experience of belonging and not really understanding what's going on, so this was an experience I wanted to bring with this character. And I also wanted her to be like big and strong, like a true Nordic giantess, so she could beat up the bad guys, and be a different kind of investigator. As you know, we had a big financial meltdown in 2009 in Iceland, and at that time a lot of money went missing, and everybody is looking for that money still, the tax authorities and the government and so on. So there is a lot of financial investigators that work in Iceland.
Yeah, in this novel Blodrött hav, and also in this novel, we are dealing with the kidnapping of a rich businessman's wife, and someone is blackmailing him. And that's where Aurora comes in, because they don't want to tell the police. And then her skills come in handy in lots of different ways there. My impression is that it's a common characteristic of Icelandic crime novels today is that to set that contrast between the local society in Iceland and the larger international contexts. Do you think that's a valid observation? And if so, why do you think it's so common that those contrasts are put in play in Iceland?
I think that might be true, because Iceland was for such a long time very isolated. You know, we were a colony until 1944, and in 1944 we were the poorest nation in Europe. There was like hunger and you know, infant death and all that. And since the war, after we became independent and after we got first the British and then the American army, that was the first time Icelanders could work for money, you know, go and get paid. And then people got, you know, very rich very quickly. We had our own fisheries and so on. And it's now one of the wealthiest countries in the world. So there's a very high standard of living. But the change is so profound and so fast. I mean, my grandmother was raised in a turf house, you know, made from stone and turf. And now, you know, we're working on computers. And of course, this development has been, you know, everywhere. But in Iceland, it's been so fast because we were like very little developed so late. So I think we are more and more experiencing ourselves in the international context. And after we joined the European Economic Area also, we are now playing with the world, maybe sometimes without knowing what we're doing. So I think you know, when you're a small nation, you're always kind of aware of, you know, trying to find out what is your place in the world.
You mentioned the financial crisis also that hit Iceland particularly hard. Do you think there is a greater demand among the reading public in Iceland for books that deal with corruption and complicated financial crimes after that? Or has there rather been the opposite reaction, that people are a little bit tired of business and money and they want to deal with personal relationships and crime? Or what do you see? What kind of trends do you see there?
I don't really have a feeling. I mean, all these like real crime or these like documentaries from the crash and so on are quite interesting. But I think we are maybe getting to the point now of like looking back at this time of 2009 and trying to understand what happened, because when the banks collapsed, they were multiple times the whole Icelandic gross national product. So the country's economy completely crashed with them. And then we found another thing. Oh, fisheries first, then banks. Oh, let's do tourism now. And now we have 2 million tourists. And we always do like one thing at a time. And it's quite stupid to invest in that way. But I guess it's something that, you know, newly decolonized nation has to learn, I guess. You know, and it's sometimes, I know, looks a bit stupid when you look at it from the outside, how we super invest in one thing. But, you know, this is the way it goes.
Many foreign readers, or Swedish readers for that matter, who read Icelandic crime fiction are often particularly fascinated with the setting in Iceland, the landscape and so on. And in Blodrött hav, Aurora continues to look for her sister, or rather her sister's body, dead body. And she's in an area called Suðurnes, outside of Reykjavik, that I find very fascinating. Can you tell us a little more about that area?
It's basically a big piece of lava. It's quite flat with mountains, and this is where the volcanic unrest is now. But Aurora, you know, Iceland is so rugged. It's actually not a small country. It's a big country with very few people on it. We don't have many murders a year. We have an average murder rate of maybe 3 murders a year. But we have a very big missing persons list, which is surprising for people. And people get lost in Icelandic nature. You know, we have very cold lakes, so the bodies never float up. We have all this lava that's cracked and impossible to search, sea all around. And the middle of the country is a complete wilderness. There's nobody there, and very hard to search as well. So a lot of people go missing. So that is like inspiration for a crime author. Where are the missing people? You know. So this is what I'm dealing with in this. Both is the thing with Aurora that her sister has, you know, disappeared, and is probably somewhere, her body, and then this she is helping this businessman that obviously has had his wife kidnapped, or she has disappeared. So there's this, you know, missing people thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
I would describe your novel as very character-driven, but we don't really have time to talk more about the characters. But there is one in particular that I found very interesting in this novel, and that's Helena Ulfarsdóttir. So you need to read about her, Helena. Yes, I think we should. You told us that that you have finalized the series with the 5 novels.
Yes.
So what's your current project? Have you thought ahead after
no,
that? Or
I am actually in between things now, because I did a 3-book series, then I did a standalone political thriller, and then this series. So I'm thinking, what's now? And the options are so many.
Yeah. Well, hopefully you can come back and tell us about that some other time. Yes. I got a question from Patrick. He wanted to know if it was difficult to write in Icelandic, because it's a language that might not have as many words as English, for example. It has this old tradition, and you don't really want to make new words and bring new words into the language.
Well, people make up new words, but they're kind of like a recycling of old words. So, for example, our mobile phone is called gemsi, which is basically a young sheep that whines very loudly. And that's what it does. It's annoying, like annoying whining thing, you know. But it's an old archaic language. It's basically the root language of the Nordic languages. I mean, we have a shared root, but Icelandic hasn't changed and hasn't taken all these extra words in. So some things are difficult to write, and like, for example, writing sex scenes is basically awkward because they turn out very rude. So it's better not to do that, or at least not go far with that. And sometimes it's, I mean, some things we have a lot of descriptive words of, for example, nature, but other words are kind of, you have to play with what you have.
So it's better to write about nature than sex. Yes.
Easier.
Do you have a question for Kristoffer Karlsson, who will be next up?
Oh, I didn't know I had to ask him a question.
Well, I'm asking you now.
Yeah, okay. That's so interesting. Yeah. No, I don't.
He's a very interesting person, so I'm sure you can ask him whatever.
I just met him. Yeah. I will have to line up something.
You can ask him about his favorite color if you want. You can just, you know, make up a question, whatever you like.
Yeah. So, what is your opinion on Halloween?
Yeah, thank you. Perfect. Lilja Sigurðardóttir.
Thank you.
you.